fades into a low, manufactured hum. In that exact moment, your ancestral programming takes the wheel. You probably believe you've stepped inside to make rational, independent choices about milk, eggs, and bread. You think you're just executing a simple, weekly errand. But the reality is far different. You've just crossed the threshold into a highly sophisticated environment, one explicitly designed to bypass your conscious mind entirely.
Without realizing it, you are navigating a high-density resource patch. This entire space is engineered down to the very millimeter to exploit the exact survival mechanisms that kept your predecessors alive for 300,000 years. That ancient human drive was forged in relentless, unforgiving scarcity. It compelled the hunter-gatherer to obsessively seek and stockpile calories. Today, you might be pushing a metal cart instead of carrying a spear, but your brain processes the aisles using the exact same neurobiology. What feels like a mundane chore is, in truth, a precisely calibrated psychological gauntlet.
This unseen, pervasive system governing your movements is the Foraging Protocol. It operates as a cinematic architecture of manipulation, turning the modern supermarket into a highly effective biological trap. Think of the entire space as a vast behavioral laboratory. Every sightline, every angle of an aisle, every strategically cast shadow is deployed with a singular, unyielding objective. It is meticulously designed to ensure that the longer you remain inside its walls, the more resources you will inevitably surrender.
To your nervous system, this environment functions strictly as a biological patch. Out in nature, resources eventually deplete. A hunter-gatherer must inevitably abandon a barren patch and seek sustenance elsewhere once the calories run dry. But the space you are in right now is a hyper-patch. It is artificially and continuously restocked. The return on your investment never actually hits zero, and that creates a very dangerous illusion of infinite abundance. Because the shelves are never truly empty, your primitive brain never receives the biological signal to stop gathering. The fundamental urge to acquire is locked into an endless, unbroken loop.
Retailers actively map this space using the Marginal Value Theorem. This is a foundational ecological model predicting exactly how long a forager should stay in a resource-dense area before finally moving on. By weaponizing the specific variables of this theorem, the physical layout of the store physically traps the modern forager in a continuous state of diminishing returns. The architecture enforces this reality by elongating the central aisles, raising towering walls of product that completely eliminate shortcuts. By burying essential staples at the far ends of these artificial canyons, you are subtly conditioned to stay, to wander, and to extract just one more item before you are allowed to escape.
To sustain this invisible trap, the architecture must first sever your internal clock. Look around the perimeter. Notice the lack of windows. Observe the absolute absence of wall clocks. Feel the constant, unyielding wash of artificial lighting. Crucial time cues are deliberately erased from the environment, plunging the brain into a subtle state of sensory deprivation. Without the movement of the sun across the sky or the ticking of a second hand, your internal pacing breaks down. Shoppers routinely lose track of hours in this timeless void. And when that happens, behavior instantly shifts from targeted hunting to vulnerable exploration, allowing unplanned, impulse purchases to rapidly stack up in the cart.
But the manipulation actually begins long before a single aisle is breached. The transition from the harsh, chaotic asphalt of the parking lot to the cool, climate-controlled, softly humming interior requires an immediate spatial reset. Those first few meters inside the structure are deliberately vast, empty, and calm. This area is known as the Decompression Zone. It acts as a quiet threshold where your senses are forced to calibrate to sudden shifts in light, temperature, and sound. Your brain is given the necessary physical space to slow down. This ensures your attention becomes razor-sharp and fully directed right before you collide with the high-impact displays waiting just ahead. Once your senses have recalibrated, human biology dictates your very next movement. Statistically speaking, the vast majority of humans will drift to the right upon entering a new open space. This is a known phenomenon called the right turn bias. The architecture weaponizes this hardwired instinct, carefully positioning the most lucrative, high-margin products and premium seasonal displays exactly in this natural drift path. Retailers know full well that manipulating this initial trajectory increases store-wide profitability by up to 20%. It establishes a premium psychological tone for your entire traversal, subtly raising your baseline willingness to spend before the actual shopping has even begun. As your movement continues deeper into the aisles, the illusion of free will completely dissolves. As a consumer, you genuinely believe you're scanning shelves and making autonomous, rational decisions based on your personal preference and budget. In reality, your path is not yours at all. It is a physical manifestation of choice architecture. This is a highly refined system of calculated nudges operating strictly under the guise of freedom, specifically designed to dictate your decisions at every single juncture. The architecture forces a predetermined physical flow, quietly funneling you toward the exact selections the system requires you to make.
This architecture operates smoothly through what is called the can approach. The structure demands that desired selections fit a very specific psychological profile to trigger a purchase. First, the item must be convenient to grab, eliminating any potential physical friction. Second, it must be visually attractive to stimulate immediate primal desire. And third, it must appear seamlessly normal within your path, blending effortlessly into your routine. The specific products the retailer requires you to extract are integrated into your journey using this exact method, bypassing your conscious deliberation entirely.
This seamless integration relies heavily on precise spatial geometry, specifically 48 inches from the floor. That is the exact height of the eye-level shelf. This highly contested zone is mathematically reserved for the most profitable brands. These are the mega corporations capable of paying exorbitant slotting fees for prime retail real estate, literally buying their way directly into your line of sight. Retrieving the cheaper, unbranded alternatives down near the floor requires a physical descent. You have to bend down. You have to exert a higher cognitive load just to locate the hidden value. In a very real sense, the architecture punishes thirst.
Down lower on those shelves, the geometry shifts to target a different demographic entirely. Look closely at the anthropomorphic characters printed on children's cereal boxes. They are manufactured with their eyes tilted downward at a precise 9.6-degree angle. This exact downward trajectory establishes direct eye contact with children who are traversing the aisle from their lower vantage point in the shopping cart. That gaze is engineered. It creates a powerful, almost eerie psychological bond, forging deep brand trust in a rapidly developing brain. It triggers a persistent, nagging behavioral response from the child, designed specifically to wear down and break adult willpower. To ensure you endure maximum exposure to these traps, direct paths are intentionally broken. The floor plan itself is a maze, forcing you into elongated loops toward anchor products that have been strategically exiled to the farthest perimeters of the building. Consider the exhausting journey required just to reach a simple carton of eggs. Navigating past towering end-cap displays of chips, dodging seasonal promotions, and resisting the smell of the bakery just to reach the dairy cooler triggers the boomerang effect. As your travel distance expands, your decision fatigue increases. Your resistance to impulse buys drops drastically. Every micro-decision drains your mental energy, severely compromising your original objective by the time you finally reach the perimeter.
The architectural assault doesn't stop at physical layout. It extends deeply into specific visual frequencies. The very packaging on the shelves operates as a set of weaponized visual scripts. Red pigment is heavily deployed across central aisles to violently demand your attention and invite physiological excitement. Gold packaging is utilized precisely because it mimics the visual signature of lipid-rich fat, evoking a primal hunger response deep within your brainstem. Furthermore, linguistic buzzwords like all-natural, artisan, or farm-fresh are stamped boldly across the cardboard. Legally, these words mean virtually nothing, but they successfully mask highly industrial formulations beneath a comforting veneer of health for the conscious shopper.
Eventually, physical architecture yields to a total chemical hijack. Modern, ultra-processed foods are strictly engineered to hit what food scientists call the bliss point. This is the precise mathematical formulation of salt, sugar, or fat that optimizes deliciousness and entirely overrides your bodily fullness signals. These items are not mere sustenance, they are hyper-palatable industrial products. They are engineered in laboratories to trigger massive dopamine surges within your neural reward system. This chemical flood hijacks the brain in a manner identical to the ancient survival mechanisms that drive foraging in the wild, creating a relentless cycle of consumption that closely mirrors substance abuse.
This engineered chemical flood interacts fatally with a biological reality known as the thrifty genotype. This is an evolutionary adaptation that predisposes human beings to consume vast amounts of food whenever it is available, an ancient trait meant to protect our ancestors against the constant looming threat of impending famine. But in an artificial environment characterized by relentless, perpetual abundance, where the calories never run out and the physical exertion required to get them is virtually zero, this ancestral thriftiness becomes a lethal mismatch. It drives a slow, modern physiological decay, leading directly to the exponential global rise in obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease.
The supermarket is not merely a place to buy food.
It is a meticulously constructed battlefield of the mind. You are not just shopping, you are being guided, tracked, exhausted, and harvested. The entire environment is designed to work against your stated intentions, gently, consistently, and at a massive scale. The only true defense against this vast, invisible system is an acute, unwavering awareness of the structures dictating your every step. The illusions have been stripped away. Now that you can see the protocol, will you still blindly follow the path?